The Miami Dolphins schedule has just come out, and instead of being boring and just giving you the schedule, I'm also giving you a game-by-game prediction and giving the Miami Dolphins way too early prediction on the season. Starting week 1, the Dolphins are at home for the first time in a couple years. It's always good to have those early home games where we can cook other teams in the heat. We're home against the Jaguars in a 1 o'clock game, so they're going to be getting cooked in the heat. I have the Dolphins starting off 1-0. I just think the Dolphins are an all-around better team than the Jaguars on offense and defense. Both teams have new defensive coordinators, so they're both going to be going through those learning curves. But overall, I just think the Dolphins are better. Week 2, Dolphins remain at home against the Buffalo Bills, but it is Thursday night, so the heat's going to be less of a factor as obviously the humidity is going to be less at night. But I still think the Dolphins have the leg up. And I think, once again, the Bills have gotten significantly worse this past offseason, and I think the Dolphins have at minimum stay the same, if not improved. So I have the Dolphins moving to 2-0. But I will like to make a note because of my future predictions coming up. I view a lot of these division matchups, and I know us fans like to shit on the other teams in the division, but division matchups are never easy regardless of how bad a team is. So I usually like to split division games. So just so you're not thrown off in some of the future predictions I'm going to be making. But week 3, the Dolphins have their first away game at Seattle, which Seattle is once again a very good team, hiring Mike Macdonald, which is a brilliant defensive mind. Obviously, Coach Anthony Weaver, our defensive coordinator, came from his coaching tree. And Coach Voss on Twitter, who's basically a brilliant defensive mind, had nothing but good words to say about Mike Macdonald and the kind of defense he's going to present. So that definitely presents a challenge for the Dolphins on the road in Seattle, which is known to be very loud. And the Dolphins have struggled on the road in loud environments. But once again, it's kind of similar to the previous 2 games. I just think the Dolphins are better. And that's all you can really go off of in these scenarios. But I am very interested to see how the Dolphins handle a very good defense on the road in a very loud environment. It's going to be a playoff-like environment every time Seattle plays. So it's going to be a good challenge for the Dolphins early in the season, but I think they're going to be up for the challenge, starting the season off 3-0. Once again, starting off hot, which we have the past 2 seasons. We just have to prevent that late season crumbling, which has honestly mainly happened due to injury. But week 4, Dolphins are home, Monday night revenge game against the Tennessee Titans, who was the start of our downfall last season. Tyreek Hill got injured. We blew a lead. It was just an all-around awful game, sick to your stomach kind of feeling. So hopefully the Dolphins are out for blood and can get revenge. This is one of those games I hope the Dolphins win like 50-0. I don't know how realistic that is. I think the Titans might surprise people. But nonetheless, I think the Dolphins, once again, just a better team. Dolphins start off 4-0. On the road to Gillette Stadium facing the New England Patriots, finally not coached by Bill Belichick, which is going to be insane. I think highly of Gerard Mayo. I just think the Patriots are just an all-around bad team. They have very minimal pieces. I still think their defense is going to be competitive. They always are. I expect Gerard Mayo to be more of the same as Bill Belichick in terms of having a high-quality defense, but I just think the Dolphins will continue to overpower them. And Tua will continue his streak of not losing to the Patriots. Dolphins starting off 5-0, heading into their bye week, which I hate that our bye is this early. I'm not sure if there's data on early season bye and late season runs in terms of deep playoff runs. I'm curious if there is. Hopefully there isn't. I'm not a big fan of it. I would prefer it to be a little later, but nonetheless, week 6 bye. Week 7, they head into Indianapolis to face the Colts, which their rebuild went like that. I mean, they looked really bad, and then they got Anthony Richardson. Shane Steichen made all the difference, and they were able to run the ball effectively and had a pretty solid defense. But once again, the Dolphins are just the better team. But also, it's any given Sunday. The Dolphins can lose to any of these teams, as we've seen year in, year out. Bad Dolphins teams would beat the Patriots at their peak of their dynasty. So I'm not saying any of these are locks, but I feel confident the Dolphins are the better team. So I have the Dolphins moving to 6-0. Home against the Arizona Cardinals, which once again, I just think are a much worse team. I like the Cardinals too. I'm a big Kyler Murray fan. I like what they're building, but I just think they're still a year or 2 away. The Dolphins are just a better team. So if the Dolphins moving to 7-0 on the season, heading into week 9 where they're away against the Buffalo Bills, and this is going to be the first loss of the Dolphins season. Once again, I like splitting the division games. I feel like that's more realistic because It's very rare you sweep a division opponent, and usually in those instances, that's the bad team, which in this case is the New England Patriots. But the Buffalo Bills have had the Dolphins number, and I'm hoping this is finally the year the Dolphins surpass them for the division. So I have them 7-1 heading into Monday Night Football game on the road against Los Angeles Rams, which are a very good team, very similar to the Colts. Seemed like they were heading for a rebuild, and once you thought that, they were a very competitive team and both made the playoffs in the first year of that rebuild. The Rams drafted tremendously. They have a good young core, but I still think the Dolphins are a better team. But once again, this can go either way. I just, in my mind of making this prediction, I just feel like this is one of those games where it's going to come down to the wire, and OBJ or Jalen Ramsey is going to make a game-winning play against their old team to give the Dolphins the victory. So the Dolphins are now 8-1, home against the Las Vegas Raiders, the Christian Wilkins game, which breaks my heart. All Dolphins fans love Christian Wilkins. None of us wanted to see him go, but it's just the business of the NFL. He has all the right in the world to get paid, and he did, which I'm happy for him, but he's probably going to take that anger out on the Miami Dolphins. It's a revenge game for him. Once again, I think the Dolphins are a better team, but the Raiders are very interesting. Coach Antonio Pierce, I think, is a phenomenal coach. He had the Raiders buzzing at the end of last season, had them playing really good, phenomenal defense, which is kind of his expertise. The big question mark for them is definitely on the offensive side of the ball. They have some talent, but they also lack some talent. Gardner Minshew is going to be their quarterback. It's going to be interesting to see how that offense operates, but I think their defense is going to be very good, and I think they're going to be a sneaky playoff team. But with all the information I currently have in May, I just think the Dolphins are better. It's a home game. I think we win and move to 9-1 on the season, heading into Week 12, where we're home against the New England Patriots. Once again, I just think the Patriots are a little far off. I think the Dolphins win this game easily. Interesting to see how Drake May will be. He doesn't have a lot of help around him. I don't think the Patriots are a very good team at all, but nonetheless, I think the Dolphins move to 10-1. Into an interesting game, which is a Thanksgiving night game, which I love the Dolphins playing on Thanksgiving. I know it bothers some people. Obviously, you want to spend the holidays enjoying it with your family, but you can enjoy the entire day before the night game where the Dolphins could potentially ruin your mood. Now, this is a tough game. I recorded this video before and my audio didn't record, so in that recording, I actually give the Packers the win here, but going over it again, I just don't know if I love the Packers defense. I don't know if they're going to be able to make the stops they need to against the Dolphins. So I'm giving the Dolphins the Thanksgiving night game dub, which I'm very excited for that game. I love Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving football. There's nothing more than just sitting on the couch waiting for food to cook than watching Thanksgiving football. So I have the Dolphins moving to 11-1, beating the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. Heading into Week 4, we face the Jets for the first time this season. And honestly, I'm more scared of the Jets currently for the division than the Bills. The Jets have a phenomenal team. Not phenomenal. They're a good, solid team. They've improved this offseason. They're getting healthy. And their defense has always been good. It's always been the offense lacking. And now with Aaron Rodgers finally, hopefully going to be hopefully being healthy for him. I wish health on everyone. Sorry. They're going to be a challenge. But I think, once again, like a division, I like splitting these games. So I have the Dolphins picking up the dub against the New York Jets. I just don't want to underestimate them as a threat. I think they could be very good. I have the Dolphins moving to 12-1, though, on the road to face the Houston Texans, who, like the Colts, like the Rams, expedited their rebuild very quickly. C.J. Stroud, D'Amico Ryans took the league by storm, and I have the Dolphins dropping a game to them. This was more so like, this is a good team. This is going to be a tough game, and I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. Like, the Dolphins aren't going to be 12-1 after the Jets game, if we're being honest. Like, the likelihood of that being real is slim to none. So I have them dropping a close game to the Texans just because they need to pick up an L somewhere in the season to make it a little more realistic. After the Texans game, we're home against the 49ers. Once again, 49ers, a phenomenal team. Kyle Shanahan, kind of who Mike McDaniel learned everything from. I have them handing the Dolphins their third loss of the season, which makes me a little nervous. We have a tough December schedule, and as we've seen the past couple of years, that's where the Dolphins crumble, but not to worry. Week 17, Sunday night game away on the road against the Cleveland Browns. I have the Dolphins picking up a dub here. There's nothing more than I would love for the Miami Dolphins to smack Deshaun Watson and the Cleveland Browns. I have beef against Deshaun Watson, not even the off the field stuff, that actually specifically, but then also the whole drama of him coming to Miami and people wanting to replace Tua. I was always on the Tua train. I was like, I do not want Watson. And it's panned out to look pretty good for the Dolphins. And I hope the Dolphins cement that with a dub over the Cleveland Browns. Heading into Week 18 with a 13-3 record, they're on the road against the Jets, who, like I've mentioned, I think are going to give us a run for the money for the division, as well as the Bills. Obviously, the Bills are still a threat. I think the Jets' biggest question mark is their offensive play calling. I think Nathaniel Hackett is not a good play caller, but I think Aaron Rodgers is able to mask all of that because he's basically another offensive coordinator. But with a 13-3 record, the Dolphins might even have the division clinched or something clinched. So they could be playing backups, but even if they weren't playing backups, I have the Dolphins dropping this game to the New York Jets and finishing the season 13-4. Comment your thoughts down below. What do you have the Dolphins record at in May? Obviously, there's a lot of more information to be gathered throughout training camp and the preseason, but that's my way too early prediction for the Miami Dolphins. Like and subscribe to help the channel grow. And until next time, fins up.